What is the Oak Island mystery? Why have teams of people been digging hundreds of feet into the ground for over 200 years there? Is there buried pirate treasure? Aztec gold? Secrets of the Knights Templar? Bojangles' missing leg? His missing eye? What is that island hiding? Anything at all? Will anything ever be found? Has anything been found? So many questions. Lives have been lost trying to solve that island's mysteries. And I lost a lot of sleep trying to figure them out myself this week. So many crazy possibilities for what could be buried on Oak Island, and we examine a lot of them and give a nice timeline of the digs in today's so many shafts, so much Oak Island mystery edition of Timesuck.
You're listening to Timesuck.
Hail Nimrod, Timesuckers. Hello, Cult of the Curious. I'm Dan Cummins, and this is Timesuck. Be gone, Lucifina. Thanks to Appleton, Wisconsin Timesuckers who came out on a Wednesday in the cold and the snow this past week. Small but mighty and fantastic crowd. Really nice talking to you guys afterwards. And thanks to Madison's big crowd last night. Big, fantastic crowd. More shows in Madison this weekend. Grab tickets fast if you're going to come out. Some of the shows already sold out. Others close to being sold out. And I'm recording in Madison now in my hotel room. So apologies to whoever is next door. Closing out the year at Comedy Works in Denver, Colorado, December 28th through New Year's Eve. Hope to see you there. Many 2018 tour dates now posted at dancummins.tv, timesuckpodcast.com, such as Indianapolis. Come on, Indy. Be good to me again. Morty's Comedy Joint, January 5th and 6th. Get those tickets now, Indy suckers. Providence, Rhode Island, the Comedy Connection, January 19th through the 20th. Chicopee, Massachusetts, Cabot Comedy Club, January 21st. Philadelphia, going to be at the Punchline, January 25th through 27th. Chicago, January 31st through February 3rd at Zanies in Rosemont. Love that club. New York City Gotham Comedy Club, one night only, February 11th. Very excited to be doing a set there. 2 live podcasts now on the books for 2018. Small Town Murder Swapcast in Detroit on February 16th, 2018 at the Magic Bag happening. Live Swapcast podcast. Tickets are on sale. 2 shows one night. Stand up at 7 p.m. Swapcast with James and Jimmy. Those fantastic fucks. Going to be at 10 p.m. Sisyphus Brewing, Minneapolis, March 3rd. Only $10 tickets for a live Timesuck podcast. First one of 2018. That specifically, Timesuck. Those aren't quite on sale yet. Working to get those on live on their website. We can only yell at them so many times. But hopefully they put those on sale soon. I'll announce first on Instagram at Timesuck Podcast. On Instagram. Small room, only 90 seats. So when those do go on sale, hopefully they go pretty fast. I'll be doing stand-up shows there March 2nd and 3rd as well. Check the tour date section on the website for more info. Ticket links in this episode description. And and the stand-up stuff, by the way, if you've seen me recently, if it's been more than a month since you've seen me, going to be a lot of new stuff at the show. Working on a lot of new content right now. Kicking out a lot of new comedy, a lot of new stand-up, getting stuff ready. So when my albums come out, one at the end of January, it's going to be a little Pandora exclusive. More details, in future shows on that one. And then the other album, a whole separate set of bits, previously unreleased as well, coming out for the Timesuck people in February. I want once those things come out to have a whole bunch of new shit for you here if you come to the live show. Okay, so now, bonus suck 14, the mystery of Oak Island. So what is Oak Island and where is it? Well, it's 140 acres of hard wood that's been slammed right up inside your mom. Ha! Aggressive. Too much. No. It's 140 acres of hills, hardwoods, and marsh. Privately owned island, one of about 350 islands that dot the picturesque Mahone Bay landscape of Nova Scotia, Canada. The town of Mahone Bay has been a treasure since 1754, according to MahoneBay.com and nowhere else. By the way, did not really busy week. Didn't do as much pronunciation checking as I normally do on geographical places. So maybe it's Mahoney. I'm going to go with Mahone because that's how as you know, my pronunciation instincts are not good. So, I don't know. It looks fantastic. Also, according to MahoneBay.com, the word Mahone is derived from a French term for the speedy, low-lying craft used by pirates to stash their booty and escape the authorities. A lot of pirate talk today. Plays into the Oak Island legend for sure. The British colonized the area in 1753, bringing European settlers to the lands of what is present-day Lunenburg County. Protestant settlers from Germany and Switzerland farmed large plots of land in an area that was better suited for more marine-like endeavors. Mahone Bay soon became known for its fine shipbuilding yards, fishing fleets, and large-breasted women. Average cup size for the women there is an F. It's incredible. The biggest breast in the world, way bigger than a D cup. Those poor women of Mahone Bay and Lunenburg County, a lot of back problems. Most back problems per capita of any group of women in the world. So it's a bay located on the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, along the eastern end of like Lunenburg County. Nova Scotia is just a bit east of Maine. Bangor, as the crow flies, only 220 miles from Oak Island. The easternmost coast of Maine is about 30 miles from the westernmost coast of Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia means New Scotland in Latin, and it's the first area of present-day Canada to have been permanently settled by Europeans. Oh, and the large breast thing was complete and utter nonsense. Damn you, Lucifina, putting lies in my very mouth. Sorry for the sympathy pain you have been feeling, lady suckers. Or if you happen to be an F cup or bigger yourself, I don't know how you do it. I hope you have a solid support bra budget at your disposal. I don't know how you run or do anything with that. God bless you if you can manage it. Incredible core strength, I guess. You got to relieve that inevitable spinal pressure. I don't understand the physics. I really don't. My pecs are at the edge of boobs sometimes. I feel like right now when I run, they bounce a little bit. I don't care for it. I don't care for that feeling. In 1605, French colonists established Port Royal, the capital of what would become known as Acadia, a colony of New France that would last until its British conquest in 1713. The French initially established trade relationships with the indigenous people of the area, the Micmacs. I did look up that, right? Acadia, guessing on the pronunciation. Micmac, solid. Thanks, Emma Says stuff on YouTube. Thanks, Micmacs, for being one of about one Native American, excuse me, see, it's a hard habit to break. American Indian, tribes on Earth with a very easy to pronounce name for a bad pronunciation white dude. So the indigenous people, the Micmacs, the Malastleet, the Micmacs, among the original inhabitants of the area around Oak Island itself, inhabiting the area for roughly 10,000 years. So they've been living around Oak Island for a while, living off the land in small villages along the coasts and rivers of the area. Oak Island, while a few people have lived there here and there, like actually on the island, has never been the source of a large settlement for anyone. Probably, just because it's tiny. It's never had much more than one or two private residences on it at any one time because it's a very small island. It's only a mile long. I didn't realize Oak Island was that small. It's only a mile long, less than half a mile wide. So not very big. Never reaches a height of more than roughly 30 feet, roughly 10 meters above sea level. The closest towns to Oak Island are Mahone Bay, the town. There's the bay itself, and then the town of Mahone Bay, Lunenburg and Chester. Mahone Bay is 7.5 miles, 12 kilometers away. It's a former fishing and logging town that's now a seasonal tourist town with a history of wooden boat building, about 1,000 people. I would describe it from videos and pics online. It's quaint. Each October, the town, according to NovaScotia.com, comes alive with more than 150 handmade life-size scarecrows created by local artists to delight and amuse visitors of all ages. At the same time, the largest antique show in the Maritimes fills 3 venues with respected and sought-after vendors. This is a Nova Scotia don't miss event. You can't miss it, you guys. You can miss the Scarecrow Jamboree. You can miss that all day long. But you cannot miss the antique show. No, sir. It is the largest antique show in the Maritimes. How are antiques more exciting than scarecrows? Like, there's antiques in every town. I can't remember the last town I've been through that I did not see at least one antique shop in. I have never heard of a scarecrow festival. Never heard of one of those before in my life, but apparently no big deal, Nova Scotia. The Maritimes, or Canadian Maritimes, by the way, are the terms used to describe the region comprised of Canada's 3 easternmost provinces, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Dickhead Island. Actually, it's Prince Edward Island. I don't know why that just came out of my mouth. I'm sure the people there are fantastic. I've never been. I have no reason to disparage them. Lunenburg is 23 kilometers, 14 miles away, and it's a fucking dump. How's that, Canada? It's so gross there. It's full of nothing but inbred dog molesters who'd rather eat your children than shake your hand. That's actually the town motto. Yeah. How fucking intense is that? The town motto is "Welcome to Lunenburg," where we'd rather eat your fucking children than shake your hand. It might actually say "eat your fucking hand." I can't remember how many fucks are in there. Of course not. None of that's true. It's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. UNESCO being the United Nations educational, scientific, and cultural organization, probably part of the Illuminati, right? Huh? Conspiracy nuts? Specialized agency of the United Nations based in Paris. Actually, Old Town Lunenburg is one of the only 2 urban communities in North America designed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Who knew? Not me. 70% of the original colonial buildings from the 18th and 19th centuries continue to greet visitors with their colorful facades. It actually is super cute. It is I would totally visit. Just over 2,000 people inhabit the little coastal fishing town that was one of Britain's first towns in Canada. Originally, it was a Micmac encampment and clam harvesting site. Got to harvest those clams, man. That sounds... The seventh grader in me just got a crazy visual when I said, clam harvesting site. The Brits began they began the town as an agricultural center. Soon it became a major fishing and shipbuilding center as well. Its shipyard repaired warships in both World War I and World War II. But now, mostly dog molesters, as you know. Shameful. No, Chester is 17 kilometers, 10.5 miles northeast of Oak Island. Little town settled originally by colonists from Massachusetts, actually, who came up north following invitations by Lieutenant Governor and subsequently Governor of Nova Scotia, Charles Lawrence, the man with a first name and last name that's also a first name, Charles Larry, to settle lands taken from natives in 1755. Taken from the Micmacs, goddammit. It's a town of fishers, farmers primarily. Oh, Charlie Larry. He's settling their lands. Now another little tourist town for the most part. No, it's a quaint, very scenic area. The former Sci-Fi Channel show Haven, which I've not seen, but I did some research and found out it's based on the story Colorado Kid by Stephen King, and it was filmed largely in Chester, Lunenburg, and Mahone Bay. So if you're a fan of that show, if you've seen that show, well then you've seen this area. Look it up if you want to feel for the Oak Island environment. Other than the occasional clashes between European settlers and the Micmac, only a few dust-ups with Americans in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. Mostly been a kind of a quiet little area. The weather's fairly mild, maybe a little on the cold side for you warm-blooded Southerners. Average high of 76 degrees Fahrenheit, 24 degrees Celsius in July. Average low of 14 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 10 degrees Celsius in the January and February. Sleepy little area of sleepy little islands and sleepy little coastal towns. Small town living, multi-million-dollar estate summer homes. Saw some gorgeous colonial homes for a couple mil overlooking various bays on some, local real estate sites. Rich people taking expensive boats out of the bay. Poor and middle-class tourists buying fried cod and chips from little seafood shacks and hanging out on the beach. And that's what the area is now, man. Homeless people being, drugged at night and burned in dumpsters, burned alive. And it's only an hour's drive from Halifax, a city of about 500,000 people. Nice place to take a day trip if you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of Halifax. If you're a Trailer Park Boys fan, which I am, Julian, Ricky, Randy, Bubbles, and the boys, R.I.P., Mr. Leahy, all live in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, just outside of Halifax, and also an hour away. And the dumpster hobo burning thing, also nonsense. I hope you knew that. And this is where our story takes place, in a quiet, rural area, in a quieter time, when a few locals thought they came across some buried treasure, some pirate treasure, and they started digging a hole that has collectively, along with new holes around it, dug later. Actually, you know what? I put that in my notes, and that's actually not correct. I started digging a hole that's become the money pit. Many holes have been dug around it later, but there's only one money pit. And let's dig into a timeline on that pit and the others. Let's dig into all the holes of Oak Island, from the first dig all the way up today with a little Timesuck timeline.
Strap on those boots, soldier. We're marching down a Timesuck timeline.
October 1759. Charles Lawrence, old Charlie Larry, old CL, who was then the Governor General of Nova Scotia, included Oak Island in the Shoreham Grant, the initial land grant establishing the town of Shoreham, which is now Chester, just northeast of Oak Island. Oak Island then became the official colonial possession of 4 families, the Monroes, the Lynches, the Seacombs, and the Youngs. It is no longer possible to state with any degree of certainty how those 4 farming families used the island, since proper records just were not kept. But in all probability, they would have pastured some of their livestock on the island. Yeah, that's what he would have used it for. The island now connected by road to the mainland, only about 200 feet from the mainland. In 1768, Charles Morris, an early surveyor, divided the island into 32 parcels of roughly 4 acres each. The first 20 ranged along the northern edge of the island, 12 more along the south shore, and Timothy Lynch purchased land parcel number 19 from Edward Smith in 1768. Lynch's plot 19 was well towards the eastern tip of Oak Island, adjacent to plot 18, which would hold the mysterious money pit. And sometime between 1768 and 1795, the original record of the sale may have been lost forever, a man named Caspar Wallenhaupt, what a name, of Lunenburg, bought the infamous Plot 18. And then, in 1795, the first discovery that has led to several deaths and the dissolution of many a person's finances was made. According to Oak Island legend, Daniel McGinnis, local teenage farm boy, rode out to explore the then uninhabited Oak Island and find a place to jerk off in peace, away from the watchful, judging eyes of his mother. He wanted to pull a good old-fashioned wood jerk, a chikatilo, if you will. What is the big deal? So I jerk in woods. So I get caught and there's finger pointing and laughing. Woods is perfectly acceptable place to jerk soft shamecock. No mess for hotel maid to clean. No sock to make stiff with shame juice. Why laugh at Chikatilo? Chikatilo jerk pioneer. Chikatilo jerk visionary. If only soft jerk more acceptable and less mocking, maybe Chikatilo never wrestle and kill. Why bring Chikatilo to Canada in 1795? Wrong continent, wrong century, wrong tale for jerking of soft cock. Every time I do Chikatilo now, I think of the first-time listeners, and I feel a tiny bit bad. Sorry if that was extremely confusing. If it wasn't, I hope you liked it. Hail Nimrod. Yes, so parcels of land had been sold, but no one had built a homestead, and there was land much more suitable for farming on the mainland nearby. So no one was farming either. Now I got Chikatilo in my head. Now I just fucking put him in my own head. He's not supposed to be in my mind right now. But now I'm just picturing this little island, a quaint little island, and this fucking Russian serial killer just farming and jerking off on it. Just I plow fields sometimes. I sneak off behind tree and jerks off cock other times. I try to set up babysitting business for kids, but I get very few takers, and one customer I kill. So business bad, babysitting business bad, farming not bad. Oxen do not they stare blank whether I jerk shamecock or not. Okay, maybe I just purged him from my mind now. Now he's probably yours even harder. Okay, Daniel McGinnis came across a small clearing, which is a saucer-shaped depression about 4 meters, right, about 11, 12 feet across. Beside it stood an oak with one sturdy branch lopped off to correspond with the center of the hollow. An old ship's block and tackle hung from this lopped branch. It's so mysterious. What does it all mean? It has to be important. It has to be a sign. Daniel fetched two friends in his own age group, John Smith, Anthony Vaughn, all men under 20, and they were excited to find some of that pirate plunder they hoped was under the ground. The local lads began to dig, and they soon realized that they were, re-excavating a circular shaft. There's going to be so much shaft talk today. Mind the shaft, gentle with the shaft. Then, not as much so. Then you let go of the shaft. Stop touching it. Wait, what? The tough clay walls clearly bore the pick marks of whoever had originally dug the shaft. So, they're really fueling their speculation. There's something down there. Within a meter of the surface, the boys discovered a layer of stone slabs. The rock from which the slabs were cut apparently was from the Gold River, about 3 kilometers, a little under 2 miles up the mainland coast, as if the Gold River slabs and pick marks in the clay were not evidence enough of the shaft's importance. 3 meters, just under 10 feet down, the boys struck a platform of traverse oak logs, embedded firmly in the walls of the shaft. Again, a lot of shaft talk today. I'm trying to remember if I got my meters right. I looked up some of these, tried to do a lot of meter feet conversion. I think I got it right. The outer surfaces were decaying. The oak platform had evidently been there a long time. The boys pulled it out and discovered that the soil below it had settled to leave a vertical gap of about half a meter, about 17 inches. Encouraged by the thought that such elaborate and laborious work probably concealed a considerable amount of treasure, the men dug on with renewed enthusiasm. John Smith also quickly purchased the parcel the hole was on. Hell yeah, I did. That would be a real bummer to be, tapping on a treasure chest with your shovel, only to have some surveyor or some owner come out from, behind the tree. Oh, thanks for grabbing that for me, boys. Thanks for getting treasure for Chikatilo. Now get the hell off this island. Let me jerk on treasure in silence and without prying eyes. Soon realizing it was more work than the three of them could handle, the lads decided to call on adult relatives and friends to help with the dig. Between 6 and 7 meter levels down, they encountered another transverse oak platform between 9 and 10 meters, roughly 30 feet down. They found another platform, another wood platform. Realizing that an excavation on this scale was more than they could just handle themselves, frustrated they hadn't found anything yet, the early diggers marked the area carefully with wooden stakes, covered over the top of the pit with brushwood and branches, and then went back to their normal daily routines, daydreaming about pirate treasure. And that is what they thought that was buried there. Of course they did. It was the age of pirates. There were pirates all over the Atlantic at that time. There were rumors of pirates frequenting Oak Island and numerous other islands around the bay. All those islands made for good hiding places. Maybe one of those pirates had some buried treasure, If you'll recall from Timesuck 28, the Blackbeard episode, the golden age of piracy occurred between 1690, lasted to 1730, when Nova Scotia, largely unsettled by Europeans, was an ideal location for pirates to hide out, repair ships, regroup. One of the nastiest pirates of the golden age, Ned Lowe, possibly a future Timesuck topic, ruthless pirate apparently, who burned many a ship, supposedly tortured and killed many a sailor, raided fishing fleets who used Nova Scotian harbors as shelters and fishing stations. Lowe terrorized a New England fleet in Shelburne in 1720, and some think he hid some treasure in Nova Scotia. The pirate William Kidd claimed to have hidden treasure before he surrendered in 1699. He's the only pirate known to actually have hidden treasure. Only one location was verified, Gardiner's Island near Long Island, New York. But, it wasn't some elaborate buried, chest with traps and stuff. But he quickly hid some stuff there to come back for later that he didn't get to come back for. Some people believe Nova Scotia may have been one of his other hiding places, if he had other hiding places. There's no real evidence that he did. Yeah, and that New York one, they just, interrogated him and other people, and they found it really quick. It wasn't like, they had to find some fucking secret pirate map, and then years later found this, oh shit, there's treasure here. Now they got it out of him, like, oh, you left your treasure in that island? Okay, we're going to go get it now. So, and then pirating continued well past 1720. 2 pirates were hanged on George's Island in 1785 in Nova Scotia. Another, Jordan the Pirate, was hanged at Point Pleasant Park near the Black Rock Beach in 1809. At the same time, the Navy hanged 6 mutineers at Hangman's Beach on McNabb's Island just across the harbor. Yeah, man. Any ship entering Halifax Harbor in 1809 had to pass between hanging and rotting corpses. Fun times. Great for tourism. Welcome to Halifax Harbor, jewel of eastern Canada. On your right, you'll notice our quaint and growing downtown area. A lot of fine folks and lovely shops to visit. We're just about past McNabb's Island. You can see Point Pleasant Park up ahead, and immediately to your left is a few rotting maggot-infested pirate corpses. There's also a few on your right, right at the edge of McNabb's Island there. Notice the skin peeling from the skull, the smell. Soon we'll get away from it, and we'll be off to quaint little Frog Pond Park. So, okay. The guys thought they found, the X marks the spot location of buried pirate treasure on there. But interesting note on pirate treasure, though. No buried pirate treasure, in the way we think of it from movies, has ever been found. Ever. Let me repeat that, and sorry to be the fucking buzzkill. No random treasure seeker has ever found some old pirate map, not one time, followed it to some buried pirate treasure, and dug up some gold, dug up some plunder. Not once. Fucking Goonies. God damn it. Making me think that this was possible my whole life. Baby Ruth? If you can find an article about this happening, but not some wackadoodle clickbait website or crazy secondary source book, a real legitimate find, you let me know. Because I can't find anything, which is shocking to me. No treasure that's been documented. Shipwrecks have been found, including pirate ships. Treasure's been found on the sea floor, yeah. But a chest of buried treasure, never been found on Oak Island. Never been found anywhere in the world. There are treasures rumored to have been buried around the world. Key word being rumored. And treasures have certainly been plundered by pirates and remain missing, but no one has ever randomly, been out digging on the ground and come across some mythical chest of gold, jewels, and maybe a skull in there and some other riches. How about that shit? More on pirates later in this episode. Back to that first dig. As time passed, John built a house near the pit, one of the first 3 diggers, and he managed to acquire plots 15 to 20. Thus becoming the owner of the whole 24 acres at the eastern end of the island. Not able to dig farther down at the moment, with the tools and manpower available, the dig was put on hold for a couple years until 1803. And then in 1803, the next adventurer to help take up the challenge of the Oak Island digs was Simeon Linz. And there are discrepancies in the story of who he was, or how he came to meet with the original diggers and the owners of the land the dig occurred on, this John Smith. He may have been a relative, may have been the Smith family doctor, may have been a family friend, may have been a traveling businessman. Hell, he may have even been a professional snake juggler. Why not? Maybe he juggled live snakes, poisonous ones, down by the water under the light of the full moon. And that's how he made his living, which was really hard because he put on a hell of a show, but only once a month, so he can't make a lot of money on that. And most of his potential audience is asleep at home, because it's a shitty showtime. Whoever he was, Simeon Linz was intrigued by the money pit. He or his father put together a little group of business and professional men in and around Onslow, a town of about 2 hours away, which became known as the Onslow Company. One member of the crew was Sheriff Tom Harris, and another was Colonel Archibald, a town clerk, justice of the peace, and a dude with a really cool old-timey name. Colonel Archibald. That is a name that catches your ear, right? Single 19th century ladies, they perk up a little more when they hear that a man named Colonel Archibald, is coming to town. They're going to get a little more excited than if they were to hear, Corporal Gary is coming to town. When Colonel Archibald heads over, you put on your best dress. You accidentally bump into him in a desperate attempt to catch his eye. When Corporal Gary swings through town, you put on your dad's overalls. You throw some mud on your face and you complain loudly about the terrible flatulence you've had ever since you had 4 sandwiches for lunch. Anywho, the Onslow men, they dug away steadily while Colonel Archibald puffed from his pipe and stared at them through his monocle disapprovingly. Unearthing platforms of oak logs at regular 10-foot intervals as they cleared out more and more of the pit, they encountered other curious layers of things as well. There are minor divergences in the accounts of what precisely was discovered at which level, but as the digging continued, layers of putty, charcoal, coconut fiber are pulled out. There was so much putty spread over one layer of oak logs, according to one account, that it was used to glaze the windows of more than 20 local houses. That sounds wacky to me. Hiram Walker was a ship's carpenter who lived in Chester at the time, who worked at the money pit. Years later, he told his granddaughter, Mrs. Cottenham Smith, that he had seen bushels of coconut fiber being lifted out of the shaft as the work progressed. Another very intriguing find for the Onslow Company was a large, flat stone encountered, just about the 90-foot level, that apparently had some sort of cryptic inscription on it. But where is this super cool stone that I would love to see and have verified by archaeologists and pirate historians? Well, John Smith was halfway through building a fireplace in his Oak Island farmhouse during the dig, and apparently he incorporated the stone into his mantle. Partly to keep it safe, partly to provide a conversation piece. Okay. That's an interesting choice. In 1865, this very important stone was taken from the Smith homestead and placed on display in the window of the bookbindery belonging to A.O. Creighton in Halifax. A.O. Creighton was at the time treasurer of one of the Oak Island treasure hunting syndicates. And it was hoped that, if he displayed the stone, it would encourage new shareholders to participate in the search. A witness named Jefferson McDonald is reported to have said that he saw the stone at close quarters, helped move it, in fact, and there was no doubt at all that there was a coded inscription upon it. And no one had been able to solve it until, of course, someone did. An old local Irish teacher eventually translated it to read, 40 feet below 2 million pounds are buried. And then A.O. Creighton left the business in 1879, and a new firm was started by Herbert Creighton, old Herb, and Edward Marshall. Edward's son, Harry, was with the firm from 1890 onwards. He made a statement about the stone in 1935 to treasure hunter Frederick Blair and his lawyer, Reginald Harris. Well, if that isn't a 1935 name, I don't know what is. Get Reginald Harris in here to look at the stone. The gist of Harry Marshall's evidence was that he remembered the stone well, but had never seen the inscription on it because it had been worn away by years of use as a bookbinder's beading stone. What? Okay, I can't handle the stone story anymore. It was used for what? For a fireplace. And then it gets used as a bookbinder's beading stone, whatever the fuck that is. And it gets worn out. And there's no longer a very important historical engraving upon it that could lead to pirate treasure. Bullshit. and why was it made in the first place? I guess when you're burying important treasure that you want to come back later to find, you want to leave an important clue to let people trying to take it from you know that they should keep digging. Because that makes a lot of sense. Just, matey, I see that you're after me carefully hidden plunder. Plunder somehow buried, over almost 150 feet beneath the ground. Even though I'm a pirate and not a mining engineer or excavator known for my shovel work. Matey. Well, don't give up on trying to get the treasure I obviously wanted to retrieve one day, or I would not have gone through a tremendous amount of work to, A, get the treasure and take it and steal it, and B, work so hard to hide it. But don't try to stop. Don't you stop trying to steal it for me. Just 40 more feet down, and you can take all that I worked so hard to hide. Arr, matey. I'm the smartest, dumbest pirate who ever sailed the 16 seas, or 4, or whatever. So, I have doubts about the existence of the stone. A lot of logic problems with the story, like a lot. There are more logic holes on Oak Island than there are actual digging holes. But yeah, this stone inexplicably lost its inscription. I've never heard of that happening to an important artifact before. What should we do with this artifact? Should we keep it under glass? Should we hide it? It's very important. No, just beat some books against it until we wear out the words. And then it disappeared altogether at some later point in history. Okay, so after the Onslow team supposedly found and removed this stone, they kept digging. Shortly below the stone, 90 plus feet below the opening of the earth, they began probing the soggy base of the pit with long iron rods. That's how you find stuff. You dig a big hole, and then eventually you just get some long, like super long iron rods, like 100-foot long iron rods, and you just kind of like poke around down there. That's how the pros do it. Some soggy mud poking. At the 98-foot level, those probes struck something impenetrably hard, which extended from one side of the money pit to the other. Water and darkness posed serious enough problems that this evening they were doing this, and they found this hard object that the Onslow men decided to resume their search at first light, which brought a grim disappointment. The money pit was now over 60 feet deep in water. One account relates that as they gathered around the opening, an unlucky member of the expedition slipped into the flooded shaft, only to sputter to the surface, shouting that the water tasted of salt. Salt, he repeated, as his companions lowered a rope and hauled him to safety. Salt. Arr, matey, there's salt in my pirate hole. The men began trying to empty the pit by bailing it like a leaking ship, but, that's not going to work. It had no effect whatsoever. Okay, so after the discouraging problem of the hole filling up with seawater, the crew took the winter off, got to regroup. Let's get our heads together again. Then the Onslow crew was back at it in the spring of 1804. They dug a parallel shaft 15 feet southeast of the old money pit to try and dig beneath the waterlogged shaft and dig under it to reach that treasure. Their new hard veiny shaft. Wait, what? Their new shaft reached 115 feet without encountering any water problems at all. The tunnelers began to cut horizontally through the stubborn clay towards the money pit itself. They accomplished the first 12 or 13 feet without any serious problems. Less than 3 feet now separated the excited miners from the spot where they believed the treasure lay. Oh, man, they're excited. And then water again. Damn it, damn you, Lucifina, and your sea salt, and your sea salt water of despair. Back to square one. Now they have 2 wet shafts, which is a lot of people's dreams, but not these guys. They didn't want 2 wet shafts. They wanted 1 dry shaft. They're further from finding the treasure than they were when they started, so they disband, and they return to being farmers, fishermen, boat makers, a little poorer, probably a lot more depressed than they were before this all started. Well, after this second failure, the money pit sits abandoned for nearly 50 years. Just an old abandoned shaft. A couple shafts, just no one cares about it anymore. By the time the Truro Company is formed in 1849, one of the original 3 money pit discoverers, Daniel McGinnis, he's already in his grave. And the other 2, Smith and Vaughn, both in their 70s. The mysterious treasure they've been trying to locate since they were teenagers, is still eluding them. The Truro Group, which is formally inaugurated in 1845, consisted of John Pitblotto, or James, John or James, I guess the historical accounts vary, John Gamble, Robert Creelman, Adam Tupper, Jonathan McCulley. McCulley was their site manager in charge of all operations, and Pitblotto was responsible for drilling and ancillary activities, and their work on the island began in earnest in 1849. In the 40 years since the Onslow digs, the original shaft and their secondary shaft both collapsed. They had to start from scratch. They needed yet another shaft to be dug. Sometimes when things are a mess, you gotta bring a new shaft into the mix. Things started off all right. They were well over 80 feet down after 2 weeks worth of digging. Their luck was holding as far as the water was concerned. It was Saturday, and they broke for the evening in church the next morning. Then when they returned, the money pit was 60 feet deep in water, exactly as it had been when it bested the Onslow men in 1805. They bailed as vigorously as their Onslow dudes had done right before, those same guys, and it was pointless as it was the first time around in 1805. Once that water gets there, you can't just fucking bucket it out. Not going to work, guys. Sorry. They only had 1 valve sludger for digging. They lost it about 110 feet down when they were drilling their first exploratory hole, and they couldn't afford a new one, I guess. Not one like they had the first time. They decided to explore the depths of the shaft with a pod auger. Now, this was a piece of prospecting equipment mainly used in the mid-19th century by mining speculators looking for coal. The key to its operation was a vital component known as a valve sludger. This was a sturdy tube for raising the core samples. Right? It worked on the principle of a one-way valve, which would pick the Truro men's, which would pick things up, and kind of like shoot it back to the top. And the Truro men's tragedy was their need to economize on equipment as it cut its way downwards. Unfortunately, that first valve sludger they had was the only really good one, and the replaced one didn't work as well, and it really couldn't bring much to the surface. And I think it's kind of like, I'm not a miner, so it was a little hard for me to wrap my head around exactly how this thing is sucking stuff back up to the surface. But the only thing we need to know for this story is that the first thing they used to poke exploratory holes could bring like, let's say a pirate coin. It could bring something like that up. I don't know how, but it could apparently do it back up to the surface. The second thing could drill down, but not get something as big as a coin back up. It could just get like tiny little grains of like wood and dirt, and just couldn't pull much. And supposedly this second drill, the one that couldn't pull things back up, that's the one that went through, they're pretty sure, these guys, 2 boxes or casks, or chests, of loose metal. So obviously pirate treasure, some gold coins, but it just couldn't bring any of that gold to the surface, so they'd know for sure. How convenient. I mean, disappointing. At the 98-foot level down, precisely the depth where the Onslow men had hit with their iron probing rods 40 years earlier, the pod auger, the second one, went through a spruce platform nearly 6 inches thick. Subsequent drillings again hit the 98-foot platform and the side of a chest or some kind of sarcophagus. Small splinters of wood came up from it, and McCulley noted with commendable precision and attention to detail that the drill behaved oddly and erratically, as though the revolving chisel tip was struck repeatedly against a wooden obstruction parallel to one side of the descending drill. That's the conclusion he came to. Coconut fiber also came up, and very significantly 3 or 4 links of gold chain, perhaps from a necklace or a bracelet. Couldn't bring back coins, because of its design, but it could bring, back little pieces of things that could indicate coins are nearby. This could not seem fishier to me. Like, let me get this straight. You had some sort of device that could retrieve gold coins and treasure if it encountered those things. But that thingamajigger broke, so you went out, and instead of just waiting for a proper replacement, you just got a thing that could drill like the first thing, but just left you to guess about what you hit. It couldn't bring anything up except for maybe the tiniest link of a tiny gold bracelet or something. No actual treasure, just treasure clues is all the second thing could do. So and then you just kept drilling more holes that none of which could let you know for sure if there was treasure. Like, get the fuck out of here. But that's the story. And it gets even more suspicious as it goes on. John Gamble, a major Truro Company shareholder, claimed that he had seen Blotto. Sorry about the police sirens. Again, hotel room recording, man. You just gotta plow through it. You gotta keep digging. You gotta keep digging into the story. Just like Pit Blotto and these wackadoodles kept digging with their shitty auger thing. Check out this part of the story. John Gamble, a major Truro Company shareholder, claimed that he had seen Pit Blotto take something from the second auger, closely examine it, and then pocket it when he thought no one was watching. All right, so this guy, he's watching this little fucking tool. They bring something to the surface, then he just kind of looks around like out of a movie, like, oh, I hope no one's watching. He takes something, examines it, and puts it in his pocket. Well, Gamble, he then challenges Pit Blotto to show him what he had taken. And Pit Blotto apparently promised he would reveal the contents of his pocket, but not now. He's going to do it at the next shareholders meeting. And then a short time later, before the meeting would occur, Pit Blotto just vanishes. He leaves the country. And then years later, he dies and we'll never know what he took. I'm guessing he didn't take anything because this story makes no sense. This is nonsense. Again, let me get this straight. You have tons of money invested in a treasure dig, and then you see another fellow investor secretly pocket something from the dig that seems very important to him. You confront him. He admits he has something of value, but then he tells you he's not going to show it to you until the next meeting. Fuck that. If you and I are on an island and we've invested a lot of our money, I've invested a lot of my money in a treasure hunt, and I finally see something, interesting go on. I see you take something that clearly would have to be treasure or an important clue to treasure for you to hide it, and then you let me know you have it, but you're not going to show me what it is, right? Then fucking no, you're not getting off the island, buddy. We're wrestling, all right? I'm either getting my ass beat or I'm getting what is in your pocket. It's going to get violent, all right? How could it not? That's fucking crazy. Oh, yeah, no, I'll just wait till the next meeting. Yeah, just go ahead and I'll just trust that whatever you just hid in your pocket, that you will actually show me that, as opposed to doing whatever you want with it when I'm not around later. Following Pit Blatto's disappearance, the crew keeps digging, and of course they never hit water again. Or of course they hit water again like everyone else had done previously. They notice that it rises and falls with the tide now, so they decide to go to the beach, and they see if they can locate a flood tunnel connecting the mine shaft to the Atlantic. That's what they think now. They think there's like the maybe the pirates, whoever hid the treasure, like dug one hole straight down, and then to prevent would-be thieves from taking it, they had this other tunnel coming from just under just out in the water in the beach, kind of 45-degree angled into the first tunnel. So if you dug a certain amount down, all of a sudden this flood tunnel would flood your shaft with water. So that's what the thing is happening now. So they begin to dig at the beach at Smith's Cove. The first thing they find is a massive sheet of coconut fiber, which covered the shoreline for about 150 feet. The fiber layer was between 2 and 3 inches deep, and below it lay several more inches of tough old, salt-resistant eelgrass, which was, however, now showing signs of decay. It had evidently been there a long time. The double blanket of eelgrass and coconut fiber covered the shore between high and low tide levels. It would seem to have served two purposes: to retain and transmit water like an enormous sponge, and to prevent clay from passing through to clog whatever lay beneath. A member of the Truro team noted the remains of an old coffer dam surrounding these amazing beach workings and thought that if it was how the original builders had done it, his men could do it too. All right, now we get some solid logic. So the Truro team builds their own coffer dam around the zone they were investigating. They get the seawater out of the way, they dig down below the stones, and they discover a set of 5 fan-shaped box drains, relentlessly conducting the Atlantic into the lower levels of the money pit. So with their quickly erected and a coffer dam in place, they began to trace the drainage system back up to the beach as it converged on the main flood tunnel leading to the money pit. About 15 or 20 yards along, they were having to dig down 4 or 5 feet to locate the drains. And then disaster struck in the form of abnormally high tide, which then overflowed their temporary coffer dam. It was constructed to take pressure from the Atlantic side, but not from the weight of inshore water trying to flow back down to the beach, and it broke and washed away. Oh man, how convenient. I mean, terrible. The Truro team was beginning to suffer from 2 of the major frustrations experienced by almost all Oak Island teams sooner or later: insufficient time, insufficient funds. Right? On balance, Macaulay and the shareholders decided that trying to rebuild the dam would be too costly, wouldn't be cost effective. What they had already been able to study of the artificial beach with its drainage system and filter blankets had given them a fair idea of where a flood tunnel would run, so they decided to try and intercept and block the main tunnel rather than attempt any further work on the artificial beach at Smith's Cove. Drawing a line from the point where the beach drains seemed to converge back to the money pit itself, they selected a likely-looking point on that line, and they began to dig down. The interceptor shaft, should meet the flood tunnel at a depth considerably less than the presumed junction with the money pit at 110 feet, after which the lower course of the flood tunnel could be blocked. 30, 40, 50 feet, the interceptor shaft cut deeper and deeper. Just short of 80 feet, they gave up, right? They missed it. How it couldn't be this deep and still connect with the 95-foot level. So you see what they're trying to do? Now they're trying to, so you got your pit straight down on the island. You got this other flood tunnel coming 45-degree angling from the ocean down to fill up your tunnel, your shaft with water. But if you could intercept it with a separate straight down tunnel, before the water makes it to your tunnel, the money pit tunnel, then you could fill up that second tunnel and hopefully block the flood tunnel, and then you'd have a dry pit to dig down in. I guess there's the logic. But again, what the fuck? Let me get this straight. The main problem is that the money pit and the other shafts getting flooded. You discover that original people who buried the treasure had built a dam to block the ocean and then dug flood tunnels that connected with the main shaft to flood the lower levels, some kind of treasure cavern in the shaft itself. You build your own dam to keep water from accessing those tunnels, which would then give you the ability to drain the money pit of water and keep more water from coming in, give you the ability to dig wherever you want without any kind of water problems until you find the treasure. But you build a shitty dam, and the tide washes away, and you don't think, let's just build a better dam again, because this is clearly the most important thing that we can do. No, you think we can't afford that. What we can afford, though, is just to dig another giant shaft and hopefully just intercept the flood tunnels going to the beach. I'm no excavator or tunnel builder or miner or anything, but all of this just seems really illogical. And you just built the dam once. Why couldn't you do it again? This makes no sense to me. And then apparently they did find a flood tunnel. Apparently they found it, but they weren't able to plug it or divert it, and everything just flooded again. And the money pit convinced yet another crew to give up. Okay, so now we jump ahead another 12 years to 1861. A new organization, the Oak Island Association, is inaugurated in April 1861. Adam Adam Tupper and Jefferson McDonald are veterans of 1849 and the 1850 Truro expeditions, as was Jotham McCulley, their leader. Samuel Reddy and James McNutt, their secretary, treasurer, and official logkeeper, were new to Oak Island work. John Smith, the last of the original explorers, had conveyed his Oak Island land to his sons, Thomas and Joseph, before he died, so all the original 3 guys are dead now. The boys sold it to Henry Stevens, and he in turn sold it to Anthony Graves, who consequently became the major landowner of Oak Island. And he made a deal with Reddy's organization, which entitled him to a third of any treasure they salvaged. All right, you don't have to do anything. Silent partner, give me a third. I like it. The Oak Island Association began its work with 2 clear objectives in mind. Based on the discoveries and disappointments of 1849 and 1850, they were determined to block off the flood tunnel from the artificial beach at Smith's Cove and then pump out the money pit. They were convinced that a sufficiently large workforce would allow them to accomplish both tasks with comparative ease and simplicity. Okay. All right. Someone with a somewhat logical plan. Right? No. Actually, more idiots. They decide not to rebuild the dam. They decide not to keep the ocean from flowing back into the flood tunnels. They decide to dig another interceptor shaft to try and connect with the flood tunnel and keep from reaching the money pit. And they dig 120 feet down and miss the flood tunnel. And then they finally decide to build a dam. No, right? That's what they're going to do? No. Just fucking build it already. Nope, they want to dig another interceptor shaft. These guys just loved shafts, man. And then this shaft collapses on them. And then they dig again. And then the tunnel's flooded again. And they keep going. They acquire a steam engine that an engineer hooked up to an apparatus to pump water out of the pit. And this engine bursts, killing one man and injuring others. All right, so now finally you'd think, let's go build the dam. This is not working our plan. Nope. They just keep digging more shafts. Right? They just keep getting more floods, more holes, more water, and then finally they give up. 1866 is the next venture, and it's the Oak Island El Dorado Company now, founded in May of 1866. You know, one of the guys organized this was that A.O. Creighton. Remember him? He's a dipshit that ran the book bindery in Halifax, the one that supposedly wore out the fucking treasure message like a jackass. Well, before he did that, he used this stone to attract new investors to the dig. Of course he did. Used a fake rock to convince stupid people to part with their money. Well, to A.O.'s credit, the team he puts together, they build a fucking dam to keep water from flowing into the money pit. Finally, they build one 400 feet long and 12 feet high. Water was completely cleared from inside it, and then an unexpected storm hit, and the dam broke again. Oh, man, if only these assholes were half as good at building dams as they were at digging shafts. Right? Their shaft game, so much stronger than their dam game. Well, after the dam disaster, they get one of those pod augers again, a special drill that can bore down and retrieve little clues. At the 130-foot deep level, they find charcoal, coconut fiber, wood fragments, chol, coconut, and wood. You know, it has to be treasure, right? That's the 3 signs. The old cold coconut and wood trifecta. That's what you use to hide treasures. Matey, go fetch me some charcoal, you scurvy dog, and some coconut. Blast me timbers, I could use some coconut and charcoal to bury my shiny treasure, and some wood. With nothing but charcoal and coconuts and wood, we'll build the best treasure pit any pirates ever built, and it's hundreds of feet down, very intricate, with nothing but our charcoal and coconut and wood, built on the 7 or 12 or 4 C's, or my name isn't Alabaster Coconut Wood. Well, they dig all the way down, 150 feet, and that's all they find. And it's 1867, they give up. No treasure, just coconut, charcoal, and wood. 1878, there was not another dig on Oak Island, but a strange occurrence happened that'll be important to our tale today. Sophia Sellers was plowing with some oxen on the little island, just 100 yards from the money pit, when suddenly the earth opened up underneath her, underneath the terrified animals. They crashed down into a 10-foot hole. You know, they almost bring Sophia down on top of them. Oh, so I guess she wasn't quite over it. Just the oxen were. She got lucky. So just the oxen were dumped into this hole. You know, she was able to let go of the reins. With a great deal of struggling, her husband Henry and several more brawny Nova Scotians, they finally get the oxen bucket back out of the hole. At the first convenient opportunity, Henry fills it with boulders, and as a safety measure, you know, just put some boulders and some dirt on there. So what is this, a sinkhole? Right? Is it the result of all those shafts being dug? Is the earth getting a little Swiss cheese underneath there? Is it a clue towards getting the treasure? I think it's just an important thing to think about for later. No one took any further notice of this sunken this hole kind of just opening up out of nowhere until Fred Blair came along the scene in 1893. He was a nephew of Isaac Blair, who had worked on the island in the 1860s, and he told young Fred as much as he knew of the money pit mystery. Fred's first line of attack was to amass all the written material he could find pertaining to earlier work on the island, which is probably 2 or 3 sentences. No. And he had to interview all the personnel he could locate who had been involved in those earlier investigations. Many previous attempts had failed, but modern technology now made it possible to succeed. In 1893, Blair and his associates inaugurated the Oak Island Treasure Company. In their prospectus, they said that a shaft 13 feet across and 100 feet deep had been sunk on Oak Island before the memory of any now living. All right, this vertical shaft was connected to the sea by a tunnel several hundred feet long, and at the shaft's base lay large wooden boxes of jewels and precious metals. The plan was to concentrate on cutting off water from the flood tunnel at some point near the shore, again with the interceptor shafts, after which it was assumed that there would be no difficulty in pumping out the money pit itself. Blair's new company received such encouraging financial backing that it was able to begin work in 1894. These guys are so full of shit. At the shaft's base lay large wooden boxes of jewels and precious metals. Says who? What evidence is there of that? An engraved stone tablet that no one can find? Right, that stopped being engraved at some point. Some tiny scraps of gold chains that came out of an auger. A gold chain that probably belonged to one of the people working on uncovering buried treasure. Probably someone dropped a pocket watch or something, and then the auger pulled up a little bit of the chain. Some dude who may or may not have pocketed something. There's that part of the story, but no one ever saw what it was. What evidence is there of treasure? None. But, back to digging they go. And what this new crew did find after years of more holes and inevitable flooding, what did they find? They found a tiny little ball of parchment that bore the letters V and I, or something similar, possibly Roman numerals, V and I. That's it. Something that, again, I think could have fallen from a worker. With all the holes dug over the years, all the people come in and out, at the end of the 19th century, it's now like the worst crime scene ever. Right, there's just been so many people traipsing in and out of this place. Has the parchment since been really, kept carefully preserved and carefully dated by historians? I don't think it has. I couldn't find out where it is today. In December of 1900, a man named Fred Blair took over the Oak Island dig. He partnered with a flamboyant adventurer out of New York City with a background in engineering, Captain Henry Bowdoin. In 1909, and the captain made bold claims about how he'd succeed where others, he'd succeeded where others had failed. In previous endeavors, and he convinced numerous investors to finance another dig of his, including getting $5,000 out of a young lawyer by the name of Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR, whose wife, Eleanor, would be Monday's Suck. And on August 27th, 1909, the Captain Bowdoin and his entourage set up Camp Kidd, right, like as in the pirate William Kidd, on Oak Island. And if all had gone as predicted, they were scheduled to have been sailing home with their share of the treasure on or before September 11th. Just get in and out, guys. Let's get in and out of there. And they show up, they drill about 30 holes, they blow some shit up with dynamite, they find nothing, and they leave. And the island was again silent until 1931. 1931, William Chappell, who had once been out of one of the managers of Blair's Oak Island Treasure Company, part owner of Chappell's Limited, with premises in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Chappell's was prosperous enough to allow William and 3 other members of his family, his son Mel, other relatives, Claude and Renwick, to launch an Oak Island project in conjunction with him, with Blair. William himself had been involved in the drilling work over 30 years before when the parchment fragment had been recovered, allegedly. Mel was a qualified engineer, member of the Canadian Institute. He talked through the problem with professional colleagues, and the consensus was that a well-cribbed shaft would be their best approach. An electric pump capable of shifting between 400 and 500 gallons a minute was brought in to hold down the water level. The Chappelle's first problem, though, was the exact location of the money pit. Bowdoin had butchered most of the older structures with all his dynamiting and fucking loosey-goosey drilling, including the cribbing and drilling platforms. With the passing of 20 years and more, most of the earlier re-excavations had collapsed. So many holes had been dug over the years, it was just hard to figure out where the original shaft was. They basically had to play a game of whose shaft is this? Whose old, worn-out shaft am I playing with right now? Whose forgotten, neglected shaft am I working on right now? Whose wet shaft is this? What shaft do I have my hands on? They dug into a variety of old shafts, the 120 and 160 foot levels. At those levels down, they encountered some old tools and timbers. They're most likely relics from earlier expeditions. It's another problem with Oak Island now. They find shit, but they just find shit that other treasure hunters had lost. Further samples of coconut fiber were unearthed. No significant progress was made towards cutting off the floodwater. 1932, they hired John Talbot, an engineer from New York, to do some additional site work. His team drilled for 2 months, reaching depths of 150 feet down, but found nothing. Other than some old pieces of timber bearing Roman numerals. Right? What does that mean? Did he really find them? Where are they now? Who knows? By 1937, excavations again are abandoned. 1938, a new adventure took over recovery options on Oak Island. A man named Professor Hamilton, who spent an estimated $60,000 picking around on the island between 1938 and 1943, only to find nothing again. 1950, a weird-looking machine bulging with what appeared to be scientific circuitry was brought to Oak Island in December. Its inventor told Mel Chappelle that there was a large deposit of gold within 20 feet of the surface. He indicated an area only 50 yards from the original money pit. Right? Chappelle paid to have a huge steam-powered earth mover brought in to the island. Then he paid for a vast hole to be dug in the area that the gold finder machine had indicated. Nothing of value came out. Of course it didn't. The machine indicated other locations, and Chappelle paid to have drillings carried out in those areas. Nothing of any value was encountered. The work cost him nearly $40,000. I just love these two dipshits with a weird machine. Wait, where's the machine say it is now? Well, why didn't the machine find it earlier? I don't know. It's crazy. I thought for sure, a weird machine with wires sticking out all over it would find treasure. I would love to meet the mad scientist who made that piece of shit. What does this machine do again? Why, it's a gold finder. And what are your credentials? What type of education allowed you to build this? Why? It's a gold finder. Yeah, you said that. And if it works, why am I hiring you? If this thing can just find gold, why aren't you out just buying raw land all around the country and just using your magic machine to suck all the gold out and just make a fortune, of your own every week? Because it's a gold finder. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, George Green, a burly cigar-chewing Texas oilman. He did a deal with Chappelle in 1955 to find the treasure. He's the next part of the tale. Green's theory was that whatever was buried on the island had come originally from Spanish South American sources, probably dated back to the 16th century. And he had a lot of other info he also pulled out of his ass. The brawny Texan eventually left Oak Island to take on a new drilling contract in Louisiana. All right, he's going to put off Oak Island, even though there's all this, Spanish treasure there. He's going to get some oil in Louisiana. And his deal with Chappelle ran out. The pressure of the Louisiana contract and some later work kept Green away from the money pit, and then he never had a chance to return. He was murdered in British Guyana, while taking part in geological work there in December of 1962. Maybe Jim Jones had something to do with it. I can't remember if he was down there exactly that time, but I know it was roughly that time. Actually, he was not down there at that time. Never mind. It wasn't Jim Jones. It was Lucifina. Damn it. If he'd only been given the opportunity to dig so many more shafts. Think of the amount of shafts he could have got his hands on. 1959 brought the next batch of treasure hunters, and their tale is a sad one. Robert, especially sad. These are all kind of sad. They've all ended in disappointment so far. This one ends in worse. Robert and Mildred Restel married in 1931 when she was a 17-year-old ballerina, and he was on tour as a young stunt motorcycle rider. Right? They're an interesting couple. They developed their thrilling Globe of Death act together and toured it through Europe and North America for over 20 years. All right? I've seen those. Saw one of those when I was a kid. Not obviously theirs, but saw one of those where like the guys in the motorcycles just they go upside down, going around this inside this kind of circular cage, globe-shaped cage. In 1955, they visited Oak Island after performing nearby, and Robert met George Green, who gave him an account of the Money Pit mystery. After Green and the Harmon brothers abandoned their attempts and left the island, Robert prevailed upon a group of friends to provide the necessary minimal financial support to add to his own life savings. That's never good. I'm going to take my life savings and use it for pirate treasure hunt. And they start to dig up again. In 1959, he goes to work. He and his family put in a ton of work over the next 5 years. They find nothing, same old story. And then in 1965, real tragedy strikes. On August 17th, 1965, Robert was using a small gasoline engine pump rigged above the shaft, running continuously. And as a result, there was only a few feet of water in the bottom of the shaft he was drying out. And then for reasons unknown to history, and this shaft couldn't have been that deep, or the story would make sense, he falls into the shaft. and his young son Bobby sees him fall in, races over to help. He's screaming, for somebody to help him. He starts going down this ladder to try and, get his motionless father laying in the water below back out. So it couldn't have been too far down, or I think the dad would just be dead. But he starts to climb down the ladder into the tunnel, and then he also falls into the shaft. And then Robert's friend and partner, Carl Gracer, arrives in response. He'd heard Bobby shouting before Bobby fell in. So he tries to go down there, and then he falls in. So now there's three people down there at the bottom of the shaft. And then another family friend helping with the dig, 16-year-old Cyril Hiltz. He tries to climb down to the water, and then he falls in, right? Now there's 4 people down there. A 5th rescue helper, Andy DeMont, he also scrambles down the ladder, and he fucking falls into it. So now 5 fucking people have fallen into this shaft. I'm not making up this story. And then a man named Captain Ed White, a New York City firefighter, tourist visiting the island, he realizes some sort of toxic gas is there's a leak over there. There's methane seeping from the shaft. There's carbon monoxide from the gas pump's engine knocking everybody out. Something's going on. So with the help of other volunteers, he gets over there. He is able to rescue Andy, the 5th guy to fall in, but the other 4 people, they die. So the Restl's dig ends in an insane tragedy. But the tragedy does not stop the search. Right away, on October 17th, 1965, the next digger shows up, Californian geologist Bob Dunfield, and he goes big. He builds a causeway linking the island to the mainland. It's no longer really an island now, right? He could drive heavy equipment over to the island now, such as a crane with a 90-foot arm. He can drive that out to the money pit. He brings in giant excavators, tears away the beach looking for flood tunnels. He created a hole at the side of the money pit 100 feet across, almost 50 feet deep. So he's just fucking making huge holes on the island now. He digs the old cave-in pit. Remember the sinkhole where the oxen fell down? He digs that down to a depth of 100 feet. Right? He's just digging big-ass holes all over there, big old craters. And then he arranges for the excavated earth to be examined. Right? He has all this earth he's moved, and he just examines all of that, in sifters and things, and he finds fragments of 17th century pottery, some 17th century china. That's it. All that earth, that's it. And by the spring of 1966, he gives up after burning through $150,000. In 1959, another dig group, Triton Alliance, is formed. In 1970, Golder and Associates of Toronto, widely recognized as leading specialists in geological engineering, they conduct a definitive survey of the island for Triton Alliance. They give their opinion that a complicated labyrinth, a perplexing mixture of man-made workings and natural formations probably exists below Oak Island. The more explorations are made, and more extensive these strange underworkings seem to be. One of Triton's significant discoveries takes place in 1970 in what is now known as Borehole 10X. The Bowmaster Drilling Company takes it down 230 feet, this shaft, under Dan Blankenship's instructions. They blow compressed air down the hole to bring up anything of interest in the material loosened by the drill. Thin metal scrapings, which rapidly oxidize on exposure to air. Lengths of old wire, fragments of chain come up between 160 and 170 foot levels. I'm guessing that's just, shit people lost in previous diggings. So many interesting and inexplicable finds were being made in 10X that Triton wisely decided to enlarge it sufficiently to admit an underwater television camera. They reinforced it. This shaft is still there. And watching the tape, which there's a camera, I guess, recording things down there. I guess it's an eerie, perplexing experience, according to one writer. But like so many other important Oak Island clues, it falls short of providing final and kind of absolute proof of exactly what is down there, how it got there. The tape apparently showed passages with well-defined corners and rectangular apertures, which seem more likely to have been the work of man than the work of nature. Later photographs taken in exploratory missions with this thing find a well-preserved human corpse and a sealed compartment full of salt water, and excluding, the air, I guess, would be capable of preserving human remains for centuries. They find a hand, apparently, too. Crazy, right? All this fucking wild video and photography. So where is it? Well, the video's gone. This mysterious video cannot be found. And the photos are shit, right? Like you read these articles and they say like, oh, yeah, and then there's like, these photos of what obviously is a human corpse, well-preserved even. No, it's just fucking, it reminds me of ultrasound photos. Where just like, but not even that good. Like grainy, weird images that might be something, that's it. It just looks like absolute horseshit. The Triton Alliance continues to dig on the island, going far down as 590 feet. Jesus. Hitting gray slate bedrock. Who's fucking burying something hundreds of years ago, 600 feet beneath the ground? They find nothing. In 1987, the borehole 10X shaft is lined with concrete down to bedrock at 180 feet. So it's really reinforced now. If you watch that Oak Island, show on History Channel, you've seen this shaft. But they find nothing of tunnels, artifacts, or treasure. Triton Alliance seeks to raise $10 million now to solve the mystery once and for all. They propose excavating an 80-foot diameter line shaft at the money pit down to about 220 feet, pumping water from 4 pumping stations. A coffer dam is going to be built at Smith's Cove to keep the water out of the flood tunnel. Huge coffer dam at South Shore Cove to keep water from the second flood tunnel that some of the diggers assumed there is. 1991, Triton Alliance are still trying to raise money for their plan. They apply to Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency for $12 million, and they're turned down. Of course they are. If you go to the website for the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, the agency defines itself as an agency that works to create opportunities for economic growth in Atlantic Canada by helping businesses become more competitive, innovative, and productive, by working with diverse communities to develop and diversify local economies, and by championing the strengths of Atlantic Canada. It's a place for you to get help if you're a Canadian citizen or an entrepreneur, and you're looking to launch a local small business, or, I guess it doesn't have to be small, but local business. You want to get guidance and some startup capital. And I love that these idiots wanted to use that to fund a treasure hunt. Right? The people of the agency must still have a good laugh about that. I wish I'd have been there, when they're going over that today. What's on the roster for today's proposals, eh? Well, we got a donut shop in Lunenburg that would like to get going. They're looking for $15,000. Might be nice to give the locals something that's not Tim Hortons. And we got a guy looking for $5,000, looking to get his taxidermy shop set up. Might want to throw some loonies, couple toonies after that, eh? Is that all? No, we got the Oak Island guys. They're looking for $12 million to dig an ever bigger hole that then bigger than the 100 or so holes that have already been dug there over the past 200 years. They've turned up nothing, so they want $12 million for that. Yeah, I'm thinking the donut shop warrants the most consideration, eh? Thinking we go with the donut shop. Yeah, in 2001. They don't get that fucking grant, of course not. In 2001, a man named Ron Aston, he drills more holes on Oak Island, finds nothing again. 2006, the majority of the island was sold to the brothers Rick and Marty Lagina, right, from Kingsford, Michigan. The stars of the Curse of Oak Island on the History Channel, who along with Dan and David Blankenship, they form Oak Island Tourism Incorporated. Now, Dan and David Blankenship are a father and son team who now live on the island. Dan moved his family to the island after reading a story in 1965 about the money pit in Reader's Digest. Jesus Christ. Reads a story in Reader's Digest about supposedly buried treasure and thinks, good enough for me. Reader's Digest, the esteemed academic science journal, has alluded to the possibility of buried treasure in Canada. So how about I give up my career and move my entire family to Nova Scotia from Florida? Rick is a retired U.S. postal worker from northern Michigan who has dreamed of solving the Oak Island mystery since he first read about it in January 1965 issue of Reader's Digest. He, too, saw that same Reader's Digest article when he was 11 years old. Reader's Digest, what have you done to these people? Marty is Rick's younger brother, has shared the dream of solving the Oak Island mystery with him since their adventurous childhood in northern Michigan. He's an engineer who owns his own energy business, and all 4 of these wackadoodles are the star of the History Channel show, The Curse of Oak Island. Okay, in Season 1, in 2014, a diver in the swamp of Oak Island finds a mysterious Spanish coin. Season 2, also in 2014, they find nothing. They also talk to various lunatics who regurgitate a variety of wackadoodle theories I'll discuss in a bit. In Season 3, 2015, they speak with more lunatics, including a man who claims that Aztecs may have went way up there and visited the island and buried something in some intricate labyrinth of tunnels. Sure, fucking why not? Maybe if they dig far enough, they'll find Bigfoot's lair. Maybe that's what's buried there, right? Maybe Bigfoot's lair. Or maybe it's a secret fortress of the Lizard Illuminati. At the end of Season 3, in 2016, after finding nothing, relatives of the original Oak Island hunters present a gold cross, which is said to have come from the treasure. I'm going to address that in a second, what I think about that. In Season 4, they start to look at the possibility that the Knights Templar had something to do with the mystery. A theory I will address soon. A theory about ink gold being buried on the island is presented. February 2017 season finale excavation leads to scrap metal pieces, a washer, and several hex nuts being found. Ooh. Clearly shit from earlier excavations. The gold cross and other random artifacts are evaluated by an antiques appraiser. And then as just a few days ago, on December 12th, episode 6 of season 5, Rick discovers a rash he has and finds out he has Lyme disease. Not kidding. And that takes us to the present and out of this Timesuck timeline.
Good job, soldier. You made it back. Barely.
Okay, so to recap, no one has found shit on Oak Island that is historically significant or can be verified and substantiated. The gold cross from the reality show, not having seen the clip where it was found, because I'm going to call bullshit, and I'm going to tell you why. I worked on a lot of reality shows. I wrote reality, quote unquote, that the general public believed to be true, that was utter horseshit. It's my greatest career regret, actually. I had fun working. I liked my coworkers, some of them there, but oh man, I hated the medium. Reality TV is fucking horseshit. I can say that with absolute certainty. I've been behind the curtain. I worked with a producer who was a showrunner for numerous ghost hunter type shows, and he told me he planted all the evidence on every one of the shows he did. None of it was legit. All the weird noises, the apparitions, creepy little artifacts, all bullshit. They would just get at fucking antique places and stuff, and add spooky music and film it at night with the green night vision goggles and just make it look scary. It's all fucking make believe. And without working on the Curse of Oak Island, I would bet my actual life that they're making shit up. They're planting things to keep viewers interested. They're planting that fucking gold cross. There was a Roman sword showed up in another episode they found off the coast. Bullshit. Producer planted that too. I guarantee it is either fucking fake or real that they got a hold of, but then planted it. I know these type of guys. I know how these shows get made too well. Fake, 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 fake. The cross without seeing it. Yeah, man, there's no way it was actually dug up in one of those Oak Island gigs. There's no fucking way. These Storage Wars, pawn reality, or pawn shop reality shows, these people bringing in super interesting items, it's all set up by producers. Experts evaluating the items, a lot of them not experts, a lot of them actors, or just fucking maniacs with no credentials who want to, tell people that they're an expert, and then some just producer not getting paid very much just goes, yeah, fucking great, man. That's what you say you are? Fine. They don't fact check stuff. Get out of here. They don't fact check anything on these shows. So I'm going to go Babe Ruth, call my shot right now. No one will ever find treasure on this show. No real find will ever happen, because if it did, then real investigators would come in and examine the story and make the production company and the talent look like the pretenders they actually are. Right? If like they acted like they found real treasure, then somebody would examine it and be like, no, this isn't from here. Okay. And why don't I feel like they'll find anything just even outside of the reality show? Let's get into that. I've been living in the world of Oak Island the past couple of days. Let's start off with the pirate thing, okay? As I said earlier, no buried treasure, no chest of gold buried into the earth in some complex labyrinth of booby traps, Goonies, has ever been found. And if they had buried treasure on Oak Island, there are the William Kidd rumors. The treasure would have been found. Pirates were not engineers. They didn't do complex digs. They specialized in ocean heists. They were good at fighting on land a lot of times too. They were mercenaries, private soldiers, sailors, navigators, boat builders, thieves. They weren't dam building, booby trap lanes, shaft diggers. Right? There is no historical precedent for any type of pirate ever doing anything that complex, anything on that level. That they're thinking that they have done on Oak Island. And which pirate did it? There's no evidence that any pirate ever stepped on Oak Island. It's all rumors. Let's start with William Kidd. He was born around 1645, hanged in 1701. He was a successful privateer from 1689 to 1691, fighting the French. No records of him heading anywhere near Nova Scotia. He was spending time as a pirate around Madagascar. They found treasure, a little on the sea floor, but nothing buried. Madagascar, a long way from Nova Scotia. He made his money in the Indian Ocean and the Caribbean, not the North Atlantic. The odds that he even heard of Oak Island are incredibly small. A variety of other pirates are rumored to have buried treasure at Oak Island, and I'm not going to go through any of their stories because they have no credibility. There's no evidence. Just hey, what about Sir Henry Morgan? He stole gold in Panama. He could have done it. Yeah, I guess he fucking could have, in the sense that any pirate whose whereabouts weren't documented for every day of their pirating adventures, theoretically somehow I guess could have made it there. Another name that floats around a lot with Oak Island is Sir Francis Drake. Drake, born around 1540, 1544, Devonshire, England, was involved in piracy, illicit slave trading before being chosen in 1577 as the leader of an expedition intended to pass around South America through the Strait of Magellan and explore the coast that lay beyond. Drake successfully completed the journey. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth I upon his triumphant return. 1588, he saw action in the English defeat of the Spanish Armada. He died in 1596 of dysentery. He was the first Englishman to circumnavigate the world. The treasure he captured made him a wealthy man. Queen knighted him. He was appointed a member of the House of Commons. And then there's these strange rumors about him in weird corners of the web that he also is the real author of Shakespeare's plays. And these rumors are supported by zero legitimate historians or investigative journalists. But somehow there's a wild theory that he buried proof that he had written the plays of Shakespeare on Oak Island. Fuck, why? What? So long after he died, the world could be like, oh, hey, man, Shakespeare didn't write those plays. Sir Francis Drake did. And then just fucking move on with their lives. I mean, I guess it would be a big story, but you're going to be fucking dead. So what do you care? Right? Like he wasn't claiming that in life. Why was it not important at all for him to claim that in life, but then suddenly very important for very, very important for him to want everybody to know that after he dies? You know, that he's the guy who wrote Romeo and Juliet. And why do people believe this? Well, because fucking people believe anything. Right? There are people out there who so many people are so fucking gullible. It's insane to me. Right? They believe that space lizards control the government because they watch a shitty YouTube video. And if you can believe that, you can believe anything. That's why we have to keep learning. Why we have to stay truly curious and be critical thinkers, not just let the world completely devolve into utter lunacy. It can clearly go there. And then there's the rumors about the Knights Templar. You know, right? The Knights Templar was a large organization of devout Christians with a mission to protect European travelers visiting sites in the Holy Land while also carrying out brave military operations. They were a wealthy, powerful, mysterious medieval order. They fascinated historians and the public for centuries. Right? I'm sure we'll do a Timesuck on them eventually. You know, their military prowess, their work on behalf of Christianity. Many of these stories still circulate throughout modern culture. Around 1118, a French knight named Hugh de Payens created a military order along with 8 relatives and acquaintances. Sorry if I pronounced his name wrong. Calling it the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ in the Temple of Solomon, later known simply as the Knights Templar. Well, with the support of Pope Baldwin II, the ruler of Jerusalem, they set up headquarters on that city's sacred Temple Mount, from which they took their name, and pledged to protect Christian visitors to Jerusalem. In 1139, Pope Innocent II issued a papal bull that allowed the Knights Templar special rights. Among them, the Templars were exempt from paying taxes, permitted to build their own oratories, held to no one's authority except the Pope. So they were, a powerful organization. They set a prosperous network of banks, gained enormous financial influence. Their banking system allowed religious pilgrims to deposit assets in their home country and then withdraw funds in the Holy Land. The order became known for its austere code of conduct and signature style of dress, which featured a white habit emblazoned with a simple red cross. Members swore an oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. They weren't allowed to drink, gamble, or swear. Prayer was essential to their daily life. The Templars expressed particular adoration for the Virgin Mary. As they grew in size and status, established new chapters throughout Western Europe, and at the height of their influence, they boasted a sizable fleet of ships. They owned the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. Served as a primary bank and lending institution to European monarchs and nobles. I mean, they were fucking powerful. They built castles. They fought, won battles against Muslim armies. And I could go on. Again, but they're worthy of their own suck, perhaps even a two-parter. But suffice to say, there were some badass dudes who had an unusual place in history. They were a religious organization. They got to do what they wanted. They were mysterious. They were influential. They weren't under the authority of any king or queen. They answered to the Pope. And it was rumored that they had found special, powerful religious artifacts like the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, items of supposed mystical power that could do things like turn the tides of war. And they didn't want these things to fall into the wrong hands. So they took a secret trip across the Atlantic hundreds of years before Columbus and buried these items far under the earth at Oak Island. Okay. Sure. That could happen in the same vein of, thinking that Bigfoot, could have a lair there. In the same vein of thinking that fucking lizard people could have a base there. Aliens are doing some shit there. Maybe they didn't even travel over by boat, the Knights Templar. Maybe they rode a kraken over. Maybe they tamed and rode a kraken across the sea. Maybe they flew in a fucking dragon. Whatever. Maybe a hobbit took them over on jet skis. Why not? There's a bunch of other crazy, fucking theories. There's like Atlantis, citizens of Atlantis buried treasure there. If you listen to Timesuck 43, the lost city of Atlantis, you know that there's very little chance that ever existed even. There's theories about aliens doing it, American Indian civilizations. We don't even know about hidden money there. There's a Viking tomb. That's what it is. It's a Viking tomb. The Vikings are over there. Well, I don't think anyone buried anything. And here's why. Let's talk about limestone. Geologists have determined that the ground underneath Oak Island, primarily limestone and anhydrite, excuse me. And again, fucking busy week. Did not have time for my pronunciation, so please send in corrections if I'm making mistakes. The conditions in which natural caves are usually formed, conditions that create sinkholes like the one that Sophia Sellers fell into with her oxen in 1878. So, the original sunken ground of the money pit may have just been another one of those sinkholes. With all the flooding of the shafts. Well, maybe it's just because, of this weird network of caves and things under the island, this cottage cheese type of, network, the various pockets in the limestone. So that's a problem with, buried treasure even being there. And then let's talk about secondhand sources. All the accounts of those early digs, where they're like, I think they did this, and I think they did that, they're all secondhand sources. And that's where all the accounts come from of finding like, wooden platforms and, river stone at various depths. We're just relying on these secondhand sources to be legit. Primary sources, offer firsthand knowledge of something: journals, letters, photographs, videos, autobiographies. Now, secondhand sources are just more speculative. They can be articles, written about the people who may be the primary sources of the story, and sometimes though they're just based on other secondhand stories. Like one author will say that so and so did X, Y, and Z because maybe they heard that at a tavern. Someone's like, "Hey, man, my friend, he did this and he found this at the tavern," or it could even be worse than that. It could be like, my friend told me that his grandpa's buddy 50 years ago found a wooden platform down there, and so that guy writes it down, and that's a kind of a shitty secondhand source, kind of hearsay. And then other people just copy the first article that the first guy wrote about the secondhand source, and then they spread that. And then pretty soon there's just all these articles out there, and none of them are like they're not based on anything more than just like a random conversation or something. They just start copying from each other. And that's a problem. That's a problem that there's no primary sources for the early digs. The companies who did the digs did not properly document their findings or even the location of the digs. So maybe they hit various artifacts at various depths, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they lied to get investors, to give them money. We don't know. We'll never know. The first printed accounts of treasure hunting didn't appear until 1861 in some British and Canadian newspapers. Almost 70 years after the first dig. So until then, it was just a telephone game of just people talking shit. And then 70 years later, they write stuff down. The flood tunnels, the ones that kept filling all the shafts in the water, no one's ever actually found one, right? Not in any kind of documented way. It's just those secondhand sources from the early digs. All speculation that they even exist at all. All hearsay. The box drains, that the flood tunnels get their water from, those layers of coconut fibers and other materials found in the beach shallows, the charcoal and wood that was found. Well, most likely the evidence of beach salt operations. Coconut fiber was not exotic at all. Fishermen wouldn't have had any problem getting it. It was common packing material in the 18th and 19th centuries, kind of the way foam peanuts are today. And why was it concealed in the way it was? Well, because salt was highly taxed in British America, and there was probably some poor fishermen just trying to avoid paying a tax toll, right? And they had just created this little thing on the beach to fucking salt their fish. And finally, if there was ever gold or treasure on Oak Island, in all likelihood, it would be gone by now. People did not bury treasure to not go get it later. You don't put something. People aren't good at hiding, keeping secrets either. Even if the person who died who hid the treasure, right? Odds are other people knew about it. And if it was a huge operation to dig way down, it wasn't just one dude with the fucking shovel. There was a huge team of people. Very doubtful that all those people were killed. All those people kept their secrets. No one talked about it. No one went back for something very important. Get the fuck out of there. Odds are, if something was buried long before the first dig in 1795, they went back and they got it. So there you go. So that's what I think. I think the Oak Island mystery is not a mystery at all. It's a shit show. It's generations of people who desperately want the story of their life to include finding buried treasure, which I get, man. I dreamed of finding buried treasure as a kid. It's a wonderful thought. I love Goonies. Finding a treasure map? How fucking cool would that be? Finding one-eyed Willie's buried gold and jewels? Sounds fun, man. Sounds really fun, man. Just Goonies never say die. Yeah. But then I grew up, and I realized I'd have much better odds winning the lottery. And I don't buy lottery tickets because those odds are shitty. But that's just what I think. And I've been known to be a buzzkill. Sorry about that. So let's look at fun possibilities to Oak Island. Let's look into a world where anything's possible, no matter how fucking ignorant and wildly improbable it may be. Let's check in with the idiots of the internet.
Idiots of the internet.
For today's idiots, I went to a YouTube video called Oak Island 90-Foot Stone Located. Forbidden Truth, Hidden History, uploaded in June of 2015, has 688,000 views as of this moment, uploaded by the history heretic Jovan Hunter Pulitzer. And here's the video description, and it's good. It says, the infamous 90-foot Oak Island stone has been located. In this telling, broadcast hear all the facts not shared on the curse of Oak Island. Learn about the real symbols on the stone and why it was hidden in the first place. There's a lot of random all caps. Is the stone a, all caps, tomb lock? Foreign, all caps again, ancient tomb in the depths of Oak Island? Where did this stone and its symbols come from, and what did the ancient Micmac natives know about the island? And all caps, who came there and when? And by the way, Micmac is horrifically misspelled. Get the full, all caps, inside story of their actual presentation, right, of the Laginas and the Blankenships by expeditionhistory.org. New, never before released information. And based on the pics from the video, this dude's been to the island and possibly, actually, he has been on the History Channel show, just briefly. There are a lot of pics with him and the cast members. And what is this 90-foot Oak Island stone he's talking about? What's the one I mentioned in the podcast that used to have the inscriptions on it, you know? Yeah. I Googled it just to see what else is out there about this stone, other than this weird book I read for this episode. And this guy talking about it. And the first website that comes up to reference the stone is a website called, I'm not kidding, lunaticoutpost.com. That's the name of the website, lunaticoutpost.com. The first link on the website is UFO over North Korea. Yeah. And just visiting the website almost crashed my computer. Seriously, it kept freezing up whenever I went to that one site. The second source listed is this YouTube video. And the comments and ratings are disabled. Damn it. But it sent me to another video by the same user, same poster. And comments were also disabled there. So I did some more digging on this Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. Who is he? Well, he's claimed, among other things, that under Oak Island, the body of Hercules is buried in a hidden tomb. Hercules, you know, the biblical strongman. Uh-huh. Okay. God, I wish I would have found one video of his with comments enabled. It would have been gold. But what I did is I transcribed some of what he said in that first video, because he's the guy we need to focus on today. So really, today is actually more like an idiot of the internet, just one idiot. He opens the video up with a slideshow, a big pumped-up music kind of opening, get you ready, and then he says, okay, folks, let's talk about this infamous 90-foot stone found at the 90-foot level, thus called the 90-foot stone, in the money pit on Oak Island. And he admits that, stone's missing. Dang it. Right? The one the bookbinder rubbed the inscription off, man. Just, can't find it, damn it. Or can he find it? He says families of various treasure seekers have this stone and other artifacts and are keeping them secret because they think it'll be worth a lot of money down the road. What are you fucking talking about, Jovan? It's worth a lot now. It's worth the most right now, right? If you had Oak Island actual treasure, you would reveal it right now unless you are a complete idiot, right? Interest in Oak Island is the strongest it has ever been, right? You strike when there's heat, when there's interest. The History Channel, they themselves would pay so much for real evidence of real treasure right now. It's 5 seasons to do a show where they haven't had a payoff. Then after getting some of that History Channel money, you could sell it to a museum or a private collector, put it up for auction, right? Hold on to it, Maya. No one's holding on to shit. Then he goes on to say that, you know what? He does know where the stone is. He knows that a family has it. And he is in active negotiations, right? He's in active negotiations with the family to bring it into the public eye. And by active negotiations, do you mean you're looking for a cheap but good forger to make this up, to build this? You fucking liar. Then he starts talking about the symbols he has seen personally on this stone. And he starts giving these weird stats, which I think liars are good at. I've done that when I just do bullshit stories. You just start throwing stats, and people are like, oh, this sounds legit. At one point, he says that 53% of the symbols on the stone are Phoenician. What an exact number. 53% of the symbols are Phoenician. This guy, he's making it up as he goes along. Yeah, the stone is real, definitely. It's 30% Egyptian. It's 53% Phoenician because the Phoenicians and the Egyptians and the Toltecs, it's 70% Toltec. They were working together to create a Stargate, and it's important that they need someone from each culture to be present at the Stargate opening, so no one culture could bring dark matter potentially into our dimension without the approval of the other cultures. You know, there was a 14% chance that could happen. The stone is a key. It's an interdimensional key that allows black hole machines to generate interstellar gateways to bounce between colors. You get 85% of the color spectrum in these gateways. Do you understand how this relates to Oak Island? Here, let me take out a diagram that I've stored up my ass, which is where I've been pulling all my information from. And then he talks about how he was filmed for the show, and he definitely was on there. I looked on IMDb, and sure enough, he was on there. You know, listed in the Curse of Oak Island cast in 2015. That's so sad to me. This guy's an utter maniac. And now he's on the History Channel, a channel that does not give a shit about historical accuracy. Change your name, History Channel, you fucking phonies. Ancient Aliens, The Curse of Oak Island, Pawn Stars, American Pickers, that's your channel lineup? You're supposed to be talking about history, you sellouts. You're like MTV, man. You're supposed to be about, music videos, but when you figured out that Pauly Shore, the weasel, in the real world, got better ratings, out goes music. There goes the videos. And now, nonsense bullshit artists have become more watchable, I guess better for ratings, better for clickbait, than actual historians talking about actual history, people who actually know shit, who've dedicated their lives to knowledge. And the History Channel has turned into what Spike TV was or whatever A&E is. So sad to me, man. A&E, History Channel, Discovery Channel, Learning Channel, Nat Geo. Those channels used to be edutainment. They had actual historians, actual experts talking about real events, discussing real people in a non-sensational way. And then came along the Kardashians and Duck Dynasty and Honey Boo Boo, and they just wanted ratings, right? And everybody started dumbing it down for the masses. Well, not here. Fuck the idiots. I catered to that enough, and plenty of the jobs I had before, I was part of the problem. not anymore. Not on this one. Oh man, trying to be part of a group of people now. Doing our best to reject this insulting anti-intellectualism. Fuck you, Joe Von Hutton, you self-serving liar. You don't have access to the stone. You are just complete and total liar. You have never seen that stone. I'd bet my life that you have never seen that stone. You are in active negotiations with no one. You are in active negotiations with some other idiot of the internet.
Idiots of the internet.
Sorry if that was a bit much, man. I'm just so sick of liars. Maybe I'm just cranky. I'm looking forward to Monday's Suck of Eleanor Roosevelt. Someone who's a positive role model, who did her best to be honest, raise others up, raise society up, not just dumb it down. And sorry if I shit on the Oak Island mystery for you. I just, I get so tired of these weird arguments people make. Like there's all these arguments around Oak Island too that these, civilizations existed thousands of years ago with advanced technology we don't understand or have access to today. They were able to build this booby-trapped, crazy underground layer that we just can't figure out. No. And I'll argue with people. I argued with some person on a plane the other day. I'm like, no, man, it's like, no, they couldn't do things back then that we can't do now. And he went right to the pyramids. Well, then how could they build the pyramids? I mean, we couldn't even build those today. Yeah, we could. We're not interested in building the pyramids today. And we do know how they did it, by the way. A lot of people say, like, we don't even know how they built the pyramids. Yeah, no, actually, archaeologists have shown us how they built the pyramids, right? You just need thousands, tens of thousands of slaves, right? Slave labor and pulleys. Well, how did they make their lines so precise? We couldn't do that today. No, yeah, we could. But we're not interested in cutting giant stones. We don't need to do that anymore, right? And of course, I get how they could do that back then. They didn't have distractions like we have now. They didn't have internet porn, smartphones. They didn't have Taco Tuesdays, PS4, Netflix, and jet skis. They had time to specialize in one thing, right? They didn't have AC. Why not just fucking go outside and get some work done? It's not going to be any much better in the house. We could cut stones very precisely now and build pyramids, but we can do little stones. We can have those, made in a factory, and they're much easier to carry around, for people to build with. We don't build pyramids because they're impractical. Take up a lot of land, very expensive, and not many people can live in them, right? There's no reason to do that anymore. And maybe some ancient civilization, could have built an elaborate structure on Oak Island. Maybe they could have, but why would they? Why would they do it there? And if they did, there would be evidence because it would have taken decades for them to do. So many people. It took 100,000 slaves in 20 years to build like one of the pyramids. Like it would have taken thousands of people in decades to build some underground fortress that we're, still can't get in today. There would be archaeological evidence of a lot of people being camped there for a long period of time. There'd be coins, tools, pottery, so much else that has never turned up. But that's just what me and Bojangles and Michael Motherfucking McDonald and James Ingram think. That's just, that's what we think. And I could go on, but I think it's time to get to those top 5 takeaways.
Timesuck Top 5 Takeaways.
All right, number 1, the first dig occurred on Oak Island in 1795, and the treasure hunters found what everyone else has found since. Nothing. Number 2, William Kidd is a pirate rumored to have buried treasure on Oak Island. There is no record of him ever having been to Oak Island, let alone an indication of him digging up treasure or burying treasure there. Number 3, so many holes have been dug over the years at Oak Island that it is now almost impossible to determine with any certainty where the first hole even was. Where are you supposed to dig a shaft if you don't know where the hole is? Number 4, a sinkhole. What if this whole thing started because of a sinkhole? What if no one ever buried anything on that island? What if people have been wasting their lives for over 2 centuries trying to find a needle, that isn't even in the haystack? At this point, is it admirable or pathetic that they just keep digging? And number 5, new info, there isn't any, right? This story is a never-ending stream of more of the same. You can't solve a mystery when there isn't a mystery. It's just a regular fucking island. Enough already.
Timesuck Top 5 Takeaways.
All right, bonus episode 14 is a wrap. Hope you liked it. Love a good mystery. I wish there would have been more to this one. But, if I fluff this shit up, then I'm as bad as the sensationalistic networks, the snake oil salesman that I make fun of. So please don't hate the messenger. I relay what I find. I would have loved to found something legitimate that makes it seem awesome. I would have loved to found some kind of info about, pirate treasure having a real chance of being there. But I didn't. If you don't already, listen on the new Timesuck app. New features being added soon. The contact the show button, moving from the website. It will still be on the website, but also coming to the app very soon. Send in topic requests and updates. You can, via the app. You'll be able to do that right away, making everything easier. Thanks again for rating the app. Everyone in the Apple and in the Google Play Store. Really appreciate that. Ratings everywhere. and anywhere helps so much. Just get the word out. So download the Timesuck app. Watch it be continually improved. Some new merch in the store. The hoodies and pullovers are in, and they are looking fucking good. So happy with them. Man, Danger Brain just crushed it. Get that 400% Culturally Curious Arctic Foxtail hoodie. I know sometimes I say Arctic. You guys caught me. They are available now, as is the Green Space Lizard Culturally Curious 605% Hummingbird Tail Feather Pullover. And the Red Men's 251% Domestic Starved Elderly Moleskin Hail Nimrod shirt is also in. Couple more days probably on the other shirts, maybe sooner. I jumped the gun on a little bit of the announcement. Live and learn. I shouldn't announce until everything is actually in the store. There were just some ink problems, but I love the Danger Man was like, no, man, we're not fucking putting out a shirt with fucked up ink. We're gonna get this perfect, and we're gonna make sure that it's perfect before we let it go. I love their commitment to quality. The new podcast studio, the Suck Dungeon, as someone called it online, is now ready to record in. I just got to get there to record in it. Still a lot of work to do to make it look cool, but it's record ready, and I can't wait to test it out. Thanks for all the iTunes and Facebook reviews and ratings again this past week. Man, thank you. Over 2,100 ratings on iTunes now, and that helps so much. That's where so many people find podcasts. Let's lure them in there, bring them over to the app. Each time you leave a good rating and review, you do spread the suck. Sorry for the delays getting Timesuck on YouTube. It's just been taking forever to load up these giant fucking files on hotel Wi-Fi, as it turns out. And I'm just moving around constantly. So I'm not in one place where I can just sit and let my computer just work all the time. I'm always on the go. Special thanks to Timesuckers Jason White, Alec Termer, Joey Fenwick, Bo Sullivan, Nigel Sneed, Lori Humple, Ariston Bowers, Nick Nurgat, anyone else who suggested this topic. And thanks to Sydney Shies for killing it on social media. Harmony Velicamp for all her help on social media as well. Also just killing it. This Monday, Timesuck 66, Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady for just over 12 years. That's a lot of First Lady-ing. Her husband was elected president 4 times. A record. Amazing. Illegal now. So record that won't be broken, hopefully. She transformed the role of the First Lady from the background, just a lady in the background, to being an active participant in D.C. politics. After her husband's death, she became the first United States representative to the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. She's a big human rights advocate, an inspiring woman, inspiring human. My niece is named after her. Little Ellie Bird, a little light to kick off the week before Christmas. A nice suck on a strong woman during these insane times of sexual harassment scandals. All right, it feels right. Glad those scandals are coming out, by the way, man. Feels like we're lancing the boil, man. Let's get the infection out of there. Let's fucking move on. And, this is the first episode that I'll be, doing that our new Bojangles research intern, Maddie Teeter, has helped me out on. Doing a lot of all the initial research, man. Maddie's fantastic. She's a joy to work with. Can't wait to work with her on a lot more episodes. Glad I'm getting one of hers out now, and excited for this Monday episode. And I'm excited to check in with the Cult of the Curious with some Timesucker updates.
Updates? Get your Timesucker updates.
First update is from Sucker Extraordinaire Brian H., who writes in with some kind words, saying, Dear Sucks-a-Lot, Dear Sir Sucks-a-Lot. Oh, I appreciate that. I just wanted to send a quick email letting you know about how much of an impact your podcast has had on me in such a short time. Podcasts are a fairly recent thing for me, and I came over from Astonishing Legends, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. I'm glad I did because I truly feel that you have a solid approach to podcasting. I've learned so much and feel like I've found a place where like-minded individuals can come together and just be interested in exploring concepts and coming to whatever truth satisfies them. Most importantly, how we can respectfully disagree with each other and walk away not feeling quote-unquote butthurt or like someone has to quote-unquote win. Anyway, there's a lot of darkness out there, and your podcast has been a beacon for my insatiable curiosity and desire to know. I love that. It kind of feels a bit like home. P.S. Your Chikatilo still cracks me up. Well, that is good. I'm glad you still enjoy stuff, Shame Cook. Suck on it, Cummins, suck it long, and suck it hard. Thank you, Brian. Man, I'm honored you found a new home here in the Cult of the Curious. Yeah, we can agree, man. Not get too butthurt, right? Every once in a while I piss people off with a religious or political view, and then they write me an angry email. Maybe I get fired up for a second, but I let it go. I do want to be clear. I don't think of less of someone if they disagree with me, religious-wise or politically-wise. If you're super, uber, far right or Christian, whatever, man. If we're talking and you give me shit for being socially liberal or non-religious on some issue, I don't fucking care. I can disagree with someone politically and still be cool with them. I don't understand people who just cannot do that. I don't think it's healthy just to only surround yourself with like-minded people. right? It sends your mind to some weird places. Like I get along really well with my next door neighbor. As you'll find out soon when the Timesuck album comes out. I do not get along well with my neighbor behind me. But my next door neighbor, he listens to Rush Limbaugh every single day in his shop. He's an old retired guy. Loves Rush Limbaugh. Loves Bill O'Reilly. Loves Trump. All three of those guys, to be completely honest, just rub me the wrong way. I don't care for I don't care for them personally. I don't even like to look at their faces, which I find to be pretty smug. But I love Jim. I've taken him and his wife out to dinner with Lindsay and I. And he's told me over dinner how he thinks liberals are ruining the country. He has no use for them, right? I don't care. Partly because I hate certain liberal policies too. I have no interest in living in a welfare state, some kind of socialist fucking situation. But I also don't want to cut support single parents, who need some help getting ahead, things like that. Again, I have my own various ideas that don't always align with either major party, but even if I did, I could still handle some disagreement. I just don't. I don't need you to think like me to be friends. I respect Jim very, very much, and I think he's a good dude. I just need you to let me disagree and be me and be okay with that, and I can be okay with you. Thinking what you want to think. Sometimes outside of the suck, it feels like the world's gone mad, man. People treating real life like it's a fucking game, like you're cheering for your team. Like you're a Steelers fan, and you just don't like the Patriots, and you're just going to cheer everything the Steelers do, and you're going to boo everything the Patriots do. This isn't a fucking game. This is our life. There's only one side. There's only one team, the human team. We're all on it, whether we want to be or not. And just people, I don't know, a lot of them just keep forgetting that. So thanks for reminding me, Brian, that a lot of you guys, haven't forgot that. So love your thoughts. This is in from Wonder Sucker, Emily Richardson. Dear Master Suck, my dude and I have been huge fans of your comedy and the podcast since its inception. Love that word, inception, by the way. And appreciate the mix of intellectually stimulating topics laced with dark humor and cult characters. Hail Nimrod. We often use our post-Timesuck Monday nights for some quality time and further discussion. A few months ago, he was deployed. And with Christmas coming up, I've been racking my brain for what I could do to remind him he's appreciated and missed back home. I love that. I couldn't think of anything he would like more than a Timesuck shout-out from the Lord and Master himself. I know it's a busy fuck show in the land of the suck. Oh, is it ever right now? But if you get the opportunity, I would greatly appreciate it if you would send Bojangles in a scantily clad Mrs. Claus costume to GM1, Christopher Thompson, in Djibouti, for some holiday cheer. I appreciate your time and everything you do. As always, keep on sucking. Your loyal suckling, Emily. Well, aren't you just the fucking best, Emily? But why am I sending the scantily clad Bojangles to your dude? Why am I not sending Lucifina? Is she too naughty, too sexy? Why not get her over there? And some garters and some fishnets, right? No? Got to send a three-legged dog instead? Well, okay. Well, hail Nimrod and praise Bojangles, GM1 Christopher Thompson. You lucky man. Sound like you have a great lady in your life. Thank you, sir, for keeping us safe, and I hope you have a good Christmas abroad, man. I have a special place in my heart for you military suckers. I really do. Had a veteran Matt Post come out last night in Madison. Give me a Special Forces Airborne Green Beret coin. Jesus Christ, man, I'm about teared up. I'm in awe of the sacrifices you guys make for the rest of us. You know what? I say guys there. I got to stop doing that. That's just this weird gender mistake. You people do for us, this men and women serving in the military. And I'm in awe of the sacrifices you people make for us. Stay safe, Christopher. And I hope you can find some decent turkey gravy and mashed potatoes over there in Djibouti. But I don't think the area around the Red Sea, particularly known for some kick-ass turkey dinners. So, maybe when you get home, eat an extra one. Eat a big old extra turkey dinner, some cranberry sauce. Make up for the one that maybe you won't get this year. But I hope you do get something, you kick-ass son of a bitch. And last one for today, Flat Earth update. You know how I love those. This is in from Timesucker, Joshua Lane. Says, new listener and have become obsessed with the suck. I recently went back and listened to the Flat Earth episode, and it has been a fascination of mine for a while. Not because I believe the Earth is flat, but because I long to understand how someone could believe something so insanely stupid. Exactly. I thought you would like to know that the Flat Earth Society is planning a march in Atlanta for the beginning of 2018. Keep on sucking, Dan, and hail Nimrod. Thank you, Josh. Well, man, this is a real event. He sent me a picture of it. If you'd like to attend, it's happening Monday, January 1st. Please, somebody go to this. Monday, I can't make it, but Monday, January 1st at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It's at the CNN Center in Atlanta. And it is, and I quote, a march against the corrupt and biased left-wing spheroids in charge of the media. Wow. What an incredible amount of dumb. This event is hosted by someone who refers to themselves as the Wolf. Of course it is. It's not going to be ran by a normal person with a normal name. The Wolf's putting this on. He's fucking pissed off at the spheroids, pushing our sphere agenda. This is endlessly fascinating to me. What is the benefit of hiding the truth of a flat Earth? Like, I don't get the agenda. Like, if the Earth was flat, okay, well, why wouldn't we just admit it? Why wouldn't we biased left-wingers admit it? What is there to gain from this lie, you know? Just come on, everyone. We have to double down on this Earth is round bullshit. If people find out the truth, they're going to walk out into space. And they're going to find out that if you walk out into space, you don't have to work anymore. And you get to live forever. And you feel good all the time. And you're never hungry. And you can't get STDs. And everyone wants to have sex with everyone else. And it's happy. And then no one ever dies. And if they find that out, they're going to stop letting us exploit them here on Earth. And they're going to... Hey, wait a minute. Why am I not out in space? It sounds fucking fantastic. So long, bitches. I'm out. That makes no sense. I never get tired of those flat earthers, man. Never get tired of hearing from you time suckers either.
Thanks, time suckers. I needed that.
We all did. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Check out those new shirts in the store. Buy those Denver and Indy tickets soon. And don't throw your life savings away chasing buried treasure, right? Put it in your retirement. And keep on sucking.